Hello, hello, hello. It's January the 19th and the year is 2023. My name is Dexter Nathan, uh, and I haven't been uploading any videos in the past month. Uh, Today I thought I will share some thoughts that crossed my mind, especially related to my travel experience in in the month of November and December. I traveled to uh, England briefly and India and Sri Lanka. I believe the last time I visited Sri Lanka, it was like 32 years ago, and I saw a noticeable difference, very disconcerting. And India, just it was a unique experience. I would like to go back to India another time. Visit India again. There's so much. It's a world of its own. Uh, about Sri Lanka, I have my second thoughts. Uh, I'm going to talk about my my views, my perceptions, and going to share it with you in this video. Before I go any further, I would, if I hope you would like my videos, and if you do, please subscribe and share it with your friends and people you know of, uh, and hit the like button. The reason is everybody is on YouTube and with a monetary view, and when it becomes a money generating or revenue generating channel, uh, it's an income for them. For me, I'm not looking for an income. If you can help me turn this into a revenue generating channel, the proceeds from this channel will go to a charitable organization, hopefully a more, uh, an orphanage for children who have no parents, who for their education and for their future. So I cannot do it all by myself. I don't have an uh, income that I could. Whatever I do, it's very limited in my own way. But with your help, I believe I can work towards a larger goal, towards doing something substantially to humanity. That said, let's move on. Uh, See, human beings, uh, if you look around the world, be it any nation, any culture, any ethnic group, any community, race, whatever you want to think of, there's always conflicts. Human beings cannot look for the common grounds and live in harmony. Instead, no matter what, they look for the differences within within the country, within the community, both in the micro level and macro level, right? Sometimes differences do exist even in families. The See, sometimes families can stick together, and when they can stick together, like they say, you know, you stand together, it's easy to break you, right? Divide, like Martin Luther King said, divided you fall, united you stand, right? So this this is this this just occurred to me. How many different countries have gone through this in the world, right? Take for instance Soviet Union. Of course, that was a different. Soviet Union was like 15 countries with Russia. Together, they were like subject to correction, they were like 277 million population. And with the American intervention in 1991, uh, for political reasons, of course, when America gets involved, there's always a political agenda. So Soviet Union disintegrated in 1991. So today Russia is like has become a smaller nation with 144 million. A country like Ukraine, I believe it's like 65 million, said to be bigger in terms of uh, in comparison to the other European countries. So, anyways, that the part that was Soviet Union in 1991. In 1992, Yugoslavia disintegrated again. United US was involved in it. Of course, these are like about six major countries, and you can even say uh, seven if you include Herzegovina. I hope I'm saying it right. And so they all spoke different languages. It was it became one nation, and but the differences exist. All it takes is some outside power uh, to kindle the animosity and the hatred based on differences, right? So Yugoslavia in 1992, January 1992, broke up and became Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, Bosnia, and Macedonia, right? So it's Yugoslavia. What about Canada? Of course, there is tensions brewing. It's there is ethnic tensions underneath the otherwise a peaceful country like Quebec, the French state, the French province, wants to break away from the Anglophones, the Anglo speaking majority, uh, and the Francophones want to break away. I mean, this enmity goes back to from the colonial times. Uh, the French lost the colonial race to the British, and of course, Napoleon was defeated in Waterloo. If only the outcome of Waterloo was in favor of the French, if Napoleon had won the war, today most of the world would be speaking French and not English. So that's about the French and English. So you see that in Canada, otherwise a peaceful country, a peaceful nation. And then look at Spain. Spain, we have Barcelona. There is this ethnic conflict there. Catalan wants to break away from the main Spanish government. And if you go to Barcelona, you will see that. And I hopefully in the near future, I intend going visiting Barcelona. And then we'll move on to the other countries offhand I can think of. What about Czechoslovakia? It was two nations, the Czech Republic, two ethnic groups, the Czechs and the Slovakians. It was one country, Czechoslovakia. It broke up. Now we have Czech Republic and Slovakia. And what about a little island nation like Cyprus? They have their conflict. The Greeks and the Turks. And what about India. India has 29 states. It's uh, it's comparable to Europe. Different states, they all have different languages. The only common denominator is the religion, the Hindu religion. India had in the past several religions, but Hindu religion has become a predominantly, uh, a very dominant all across India, a dominant religion. So it was in the ancient times. It was said to be like 56 different territories, and then in the modern recent times, in the last few centuries, when the British, the colonial master, the last one to invade India, they amalgamated the 29 different states. uh, though they all were religiously, they had a common religion. Of course, they had the Muslim Islam religion, which of course led the way to break up and become a separate country, Pakistan. But otherwise, the British amalgamated what was known as Bharat in the olden times. They renamed it and called it India, and had a flag, uh, uh, one one nation flag. So that's India. How about when India was given independence in 1947? The southern tip of India, the little island Sri Lanka, uh, they were given the next year, the very next year, 1948. They were given independence. What's the problem with Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka has two major ethnic groups, the Tamils and Sinhalese. The Tamils are from South India, from Tamil Nadu state. Tamil Nadu state is said to be the third largest state in the Indian subcontinent, India. Uh, the the largest majority in India, more than half the population speak Hindi, the official language of the central government. Uh, it was uh, it was the Hindi was enforced, I guess, in the different states as a medium. So non-speaking Hindi, non-Hindi speaking population in other states in the north, they all study Hindi. So the South India is made up of five different states: the Tamil, the Telugu, the Kannada, the Malayalam, Kerala, Malayalis, and Tulu, a small community. So it's called the South Indian Dravidian states. The second largest population in India is Andhra Pradesh, the Telugu. Of course, recently it was broken up into two states, Telangana and Andhra, because the central government doesn't like to see uh, a largest population, because it's a threat to the integrity of the central government, the country that is amalgamated uh, with different ethnic states. Uh, so that's the Telugu state was broken up. Telugu state has a rich history. The Nayakas ruled uh, gloriously for, I believe, they ruled uh, for more than a century, subject to correction. And even Tamil Nadu was under Nayak kings. Uh, and then, so the central government, it's political maneuvering, and they broke it up. And now the third largest state is Tamil Nadu, and they're trying to, we hear they want to break it up into three groups, because there are politicians who would see one thing you have to understand: politicians are not here to serve the humanity. They are here to serve. They get elected by the financial establishment of any country. Be it US, be it anywhere. Of course, in socialist countries like Russia, it may be different. In a communist countries like China, it's a whole different ball game. It's because it's a communist mafia. So there is see they don't follow the dogma of democracy. So it's different. But in India, be it India, be it anywhere, where they're supposed to have the democracy, so to speak, uh, the politicians are come to power with the by see they are elected by the power. Yes, they are elected by the ballots. The ballots are controlled by the ruling financial establishment that owns the media, and the media will propagate uh, misinformation, disinformation to mold the perception of the people. When the perceptions are molded, people people would believe what the media propagates. That's what you call the propaganda. When the when the propaganda machineries does a good job, will do a good job because money goes a long way, and the world is ruled by money, and the people who control the flow of money rule the world, right? And so with propaganda, the votes, the vote machines, the vote, the ballot coffers uh, are, are influenced uh, with the media. So, needless to say, the politicians come to power with the support of the financial establishment, the oligarchs, the rich people who are pulling the strings from behind. It's a puppet show. So, when they come, the the last thing on their mind is serving the people. They are here to serve the financial establishment, the oligarchs, uh, the the mega cartels, and the mega corporations that control the world. So that's India. So what happened to Sri Lanka? So Sri Lanka has two major communities, the Sinhalese and Tamils. Of course, both these communities immigrated to the island of Sri Lanka, though the Sinhalese like to think they are the original inhabitants. No, long before they came to Sri Lanka from India, it was a native population known as Vedas, comparable to the African pygmies. Even today, they live a smaller. Their community is dwindled, but they still live in the interior dense forest. And the around the fifth and sixth century, the Sinhalese population, largely from Bengal and Orissa, uh, immigrated to Sri Lanka. And though there are claims that Tamils were there, but they didn't. There was no large-scale immigration. Uh, there had been time to time there had been waves of immigration, but the Tamils didn't immigrate to Sri Lanka uh, in a very large scale. So the Indians, the North Indians from Orissa, and they spoke a language called, I believe, Odian, and Bengal. They speak a language called Bengali, and they are. It's in the one of the oldest languages in the world. The oldest language is now confirmed to be Tamil, and for the longest while it was thought uh, Sanskrit was the oldest language, but now there have been so many excavations to prove that long before Sanskrit came into use, there had been Tamil languages. There are stone inscriptions and excavations that confirmed, and we have to accept that as a fact. At any rate, Sanskrit language, the offshoot of Tamil, before Sanskrit language, there was a language called Pali, but it's a dead language. It is the language where the Buddhism, the the language the Buddha apparently had used and spoke, uh, and the offshoot of that, Sanskrit, an offshoot of Sanskrit is Prakriti, and the Prakriti is the Prakriti. Prakriti. Prakriti is the oldest offshoot of Sanskrit language, but that's the said to be the older version of Bengali. So the Bengali speaking, or the Prakriti language with the Odeon language, and there is a mix of Maldivian language, as I understand, subject to correction, somehow made it to Sri Lanka with the population that came from Bengal and Orissa, and they became the Sinhalese population. This differences between the north and south is prevalent even today. If you they look down upon the South Indians. Of course, I mean the South Indian Tamils are coming up, and they are dominating in the computer field, and it is a fact, and they are dominating in in areas of education and computers, and 65% of Silicon Valley in United States, the employees are said to be uh, South Indian, largely Tamils, right? And in the computer field, the hardware is dominated by Russians, and the software uh, field is dominated by the South Indian Tamils, and predominantly the Tamils, and of course Telugu from South India, but largely Tamils. So, anyways, regardless, the North Indians hold a bias towards the South India, and it's very apparent. Personally, I was speaking to uh, a person who has come from uh, Dubai, the Middle East, after being employed in Dubai for 14 years, newly arrived in Canada. I just ran into this man, uh, not a young fellow, an older man, and having a striking a very casual conversation. I said, "Did you watch this South in?" There was a movie called Bahubali. It's a Telugu movie, but it was made in five South Indian languages, and it was made in Hindi too, and it was a blockbuster, and second highest grossing movie in entire India throughout in the in the cinema industry, subject to correction, as I understand. So I asked, "Did you watch that movie?" He said, what movie is that?" I said, "Bahubali." He said, "It's a South Indian movie." I said, "Why South Indian? Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Bengal." So South India is why in South India? See, they have this bias, right? They think South India is inferior, and they're not in any way, shape, or form any better or in any way superior uh, to the South Indians. Maybe I don't know what it is. Maybe the economy of South India, Tamil Nadu was said to be the third largest population, but the poorest nation. So that's South India. That apart, the so that bias and animosity exists even today. All right. So it just you will see that prevalent in Sri Lanka. The Sinhalese throughout the history in the last 100 years, uh, Sinhalese, the larger majority, they the government was handed over to them. The Tamil politicians were fewer in numbers. So the Sinhalese population, there had been so many ethnic violences. First in 1918, the Sinhalese went against the Islamic population, the Muslim population. There was ethnic riots ag- against the Muslims, and in 1948 gained independence. In 1956, there was in Sri Lanka was an English-speaking colony. It just said to be one of the in the olden days. I'm talking about olden days before 50s. Was a nation that spoke English, the British English, so very well, uh, and today you don't see that. Things changed. In 1956, there was because it was English, the medium of education was English. Children studied in English. Uh, a British educated uh, politician who wanted to grab power uh, just introduced, he kindled up the nationalistic sentiments, ethnic sentiments, such as we are Sinhalese. Why do we need to study English? That's the outsiders, the invaders' language. So, and he used that a ruse to seize power. And in 1958, he became the prime minister, and he is the one who sowed the seed of this Tamil Sinhalese ethnic enmity in Sri Lanka. SWRD Bandaranaike, I think he was an Oxford educated politician. His his family, after he was assassinated by someone who because they were all they they arouse the religious sentiments, the ethnic sentiments. So they always go after the religious leaders and promote Buddhism. That's one way how they can get the votes, because people are idiotic. Not in Sri Lanka and all over the world. People need a religion, right? And religion to control the mind, money to control the politicians. That's how this game is played. So that's that. So Sri Lanka, right, and ethnic violence in 1958, Tamil Sinhalese, and 19, I believe the next was in 19, I believe 1971, there was a socialist insurrection, uh, and that was by the Sinhalese university students, and the government ruthlessly suppressed. And uh, and uh, there is the information surfacing now. They try to uh, see countries like North Korea and even China was trying to help this rebellion, the this uh, insurrection. And so that was in 1991. And in 1977, there was a minor Sinhalese Tamil ethnic disturbance. But in 1983, there was a major conflict, and more than 10,000 people lost their homes, Tamil people. The Sinhalese government set up the Sinhalese people, evoking their sentiments and setting up the hooligans to go after the Tamil civilians where they lived in the southern part of Sri Lanka, southern central part of Sri Lanka. Uh, that was in the aftermath of the rebels, the Tiger movement, Prabhakaran, uh, the first landmine. 13 Sinhalese soldiers were killed. In retaliation, over 10,000 Tamil people lost their house. Countless people lost their life. Official count by the government says 532 Tamils died, but it's easily easily over 5,000, right? So these things do happen. And when I went back to Sri Lanka and India, I saw this in India. The central government is sending all the North Indians to South Tamil Nadu, right? And so when you change the ethnic landscape of the state, they will lose a stronghold, right? Andhra Pradesh, Andhra state, said to be the second largest ethnic population in India. Now it's broken up into three or two states, Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. And in Tamil Nadu, you see all the North Indians are there, right? It's more like colonizing, bringing people and sending the people to settle down, and systematically moving them into the country, into the state. So eventually, uh, these are all political maneuvers. I saw that in India. I saw that in Sri Lanka. Uh, in Sri Lanka, of course, roots go back in to the last one more than 200 2 centuries. Of course, the Tamil population is said to have immigrated in the 10th century. Uh, after like a millennium ago, that is 10th century after Christ. Uh, so much to think about. But will the human can the in spite of the minor differences, can the human population come together looking for the common grounds and live in harmony? It's too much to ask for, but that's my hope and prayer. I may be an, I may be a, I may be, I may be in my own way very unrealistic, but conflicts. The world is ridden with conflicts, and it takes real good leaders to stay above bias, prejudice, and promote harmony among people. I will I will wind up here, and thank you for listening to this.